There's something in the air.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to There's Something in the Air. This week, we are going to talk about our reactions to Season Bullshar episode Groundhog Day. I am Monica.
I'm Michelle.
And we are joined once again by friend of the podcast, Heidi.
Woo! Hello. Heidi, saving the day.
Yes,
yeah,
I
not prepared
Heidi,
at all.
texted Heidi like 90 minutes ago and was like, Michelle doesn't think she can record today. Do you think you might be able to jump on?
Spoiler alert. I managed to be able to record.
She did. So then the three of us were like, okay, we'll just talk real quick and then do the and then be done. And that was 45 minutes ago. We've been talking for 45 minutes. Not about Wynonna Earp.
Sometimes life happens and you just have to talk about it.
It's really nice.
While not recording, because you guys don't need to know about it.
Correct. Yes, I would get fired. It was nice. Well, my wife was surprised out of town, and so I have not really had a whole bunch of people to talk to, and so it was nice for me.
I've been having a panic attack about a dog for about 72 hours.
There's no need to panic, and I know that doesn't matter, but
I need to panic because he doesn't like he is okay with dogs, but he doesn't like other animals. And my backyard is like a goddamn like cartoon with like bunnies and squirrels and shit, all working in harmony to torture Opal.
Spoiler alert, guys! Michelle is Cinderella. Is that who no Snow White?
Snow White.
Cinderella. The animals don't help you get dressed; they're just your friends. You're Snow White, right? Did I get that right?
I don't know anything about the Disney princesses, so sure, why not?
You are not Finding Nemo. That I'm sure of.
I saw that one. I did see that one.
I don't think I did.
It was good. There was fish and there was like dead moms, just like on brand for Disney. Like it was a good movie.
Thanks everyone for coming to our podcast. Disney movies broken down.
Oh my goodness.
The podcast was 10 seconds long. All right. But yeah, in other news, I'm getting another dog probably. In my Wynonna Earp news, this was the Groundhog Day episode, which is my favorite kind of episode of TV because it's about time loops and maybe simulations, and a lot of times simulations that suck. And I had a lot of feelings, and most of them were person of interest related and not remotely Wynonna Earp related.
Yes, I also had person of interest feelings and the Dark Tower series by Stephen King.
You are alone on that one.
Do not know what you're talking about, but I believe you.
I mean, I know what it is, like, intellectually, but I've never read it or seen it. Did they make stuff out of it?
Yeah, I haven't seen that, but spoiler alert. Well, so, like, the episode felt like person of interest or Groundhog Day, Groundhog Day, right? Because it kept looping, but then I feel like towards the end, when she thought she had defeated it and then walked out the door and then was right back at the beginning, that was totally Dark Tower. Because, spoiler alert, if you haven't read the last book or you want to, I'm about to ruin it. So, do either of you want to read it? Because if not, I'll just go ahead and ruin it.
You've already ruined it by giving us a spoiler alert about how you're going to ruin it, so go for it.
I only read Supercorp fan fiction now, so we're good.
So, well, the Dark Tower is this, like, giant quest, and it has random doors like Bullshar's door that you walk through and they take you to, like, other dimensions. But it ends with he finally gets to the tower, and he gets all the way to the top, and he puts his hand on the door, and when he opens it, then he suddenly remembers, oh shit, every time I open this door, it starts back over, and I don't realize it starts back over until I put my hand on this door and open it and have that, like, brief moment of realization, and then he wakes back up on the beach where it all started.
Holy shit, I want to read those books.
That's the kind of read it, and I was so angry when I read when I finally got to the ending.
Oh, I love that kind of like psychological torture. Like, I'm here for it. Yes. Okay, I'm gonna read those.
There's only one way I would read those. Do you know what that one way is? if Lena Luthor were the main character.
I was gonna say Lena Luthor, but
There's so much
Well-
good Supercorp fan fiction right now, guys, and Sally finds it all.
I mostly read Avalance fan fiction, and anytime there's a new good person of interest fan fiction that pops up.
Yeah, and I'm Clexa trash. I don't even read personal
I
interest.
just wait for you to send me links to like a new Clexa fanfic.
Well, Andy Marquette is writing a sequel to Grounded, her like 500,000 word amazing Clexa fanfic.
And
she's
you should
on-
send me a link to that.
Well, she hasn't posted any of the chapters yet, but she's been tweeting about how she's working on it.
Listen, if you are a Supergirl fan and like Lena and Kara together, I highly recommend Stay the Night, which was just recently updated with its 6th chapter. I am obsessed with it. It's by the same author as My Youth Is Yours, which I also love, which has not been updated in a while, but I don't even care because I just want to know what's going to happen in Stay the Night. It's so good. I almost ordered a t-shirt based on the characters from it today.
Wow.
Which one is Stay the Night?
You won't read it. It's the basketball one.
But by the author who wrote the other one that was fucking awesome.
That was amazing.
That
It's
hasn't-
it's
that's just on
so
hiatus.
good. Correct. It's so good. And also Lena and the World Killers is really, really good. And it just started into a new whole set of angst. And I really like that author too.
I saw that someone tweeted about how there was a new chapter of the fic I won't read, but I confused it with the fic that I will read. And I got super excited for like 10 whole seconds. I like clicked on the link and I was super excited. And I was like, oh, fuck, this is the basketball one.
It's so good, Michelle. Also, I was sent a recommendation of one that was very well written. That was it took place, I think, in the 1800s, and Kara was a doctor who helped women with hysteria. You can probably put the rest together in your head. But it was really good. All of the like smut aside, it was very well written. She wrote one where they were like on the lam too. That was good.
There's good story hidden between smut.
It was
You sometimes have to really look for it.
yeah. It's easy to see and Stay the Night. You have to look harder in that hysteria one.
The only AU fic of a ship that isn't Clexa that I've been able to read and not hate has been an Avalanche fic, which is extremely off-brand for me. Because as a general rule of thumb, like I like canon fics for ships that haven't like destroyed canon for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I still prefer like Clexa canon fics. Like I can't read most way hot fics just because like the couple on like TV is doing what I need them to do for me. So like I don't need to like escape into Fantasyland about it. But I'm such trash for Avalance that I'm like, oh, this AU seems to be like getting updated consistently, and then I binge.
Since we're just not even trying to talk about Wynonna Earp, I'm just gonna throw in. Did you see the Supergirl blooper reel where Melissa fell asleep during the scene?
Nope, I did not. I wasn't expecting you to say that. I've taken a sip of water.
Sorry. Keep an eye out for that. That's pretty funny.
Nope, just dribbled water all over myself because I'm a goddamn adult.
And now it's mixed with all of the sawdust on you and created a paste. Someone will have to come over and crack you out.
You're saying that sarcastically, but I just like look down at my shirt and I'm like, nope, that's pretty accurate.
Was I saying it sarcastically, Michelle?
I'd like to believe you were, but you weren't because you know that I've been sitting there for the past like 48 hours just like sanding.
But while she wasn't sanding, she was watching Wynonna Earp, and that's why we're here today.
Oh, right. This is that Wynonna Earp podcast that people sometimes listen to.
Sometimes. People listen. Before we start, are we ever going to start?
7 hours later, when we start this podcast.
We kind of started, and then
Sorry, I derailed us. So we were a little bit nervous about some of the things that we said last week. We weren't really sure what kind of response we were going to get. And I just wanted to say thank you. So many of you, like 5, which is a lot for us, reached out to us with feedback and said that they really liked our take on Way Hot last week. And, you know, kind of the physicality of their relationship versus the emotional intimacy that we're seeing. And they just let us know that they agreed with us and they appreciated what we said and how the show is really doing a lot for different kinds of representation, not just, you know, queer white women. And that personally meant a lot to me. I was very nervous about the negative feedback for multiple reasons. So I wanted to say thank you. Michelle, on the other hand, was very disappointed.
I was prepared for war. Based off of like all of the comments that people on this podcast, people off this podcast, people all over the interwebs have been facing for saying things much tamer than what we said last week, and they got dragged through the fucking mud. I was prepared for war, and I have to say I'm a little bit disappointed for the haters who didn't feel the need to hate.
I think it's easier to quote-unquote read someone's tweets or a recap and get angry and reply to it, but like that was a 70-minute investment somebody had to make to listen to before they got angry.
I think a lot of it too is it's easier to be to act on your most extreme of emotions when there aren't repercussions. Not to say that like commenting on a podcast would have repercussions, because like we don't really matter. But when there are people who are like verbally responding to the things that you say, it's different than just text because it adds like a human element.
Who knows? But the response that we got was lovely. So we did want to say thank you. But we can start talking about this episode. I was excited. Like I saw, you know, some of the probably like the episode description, and it sounded like it was going to be a time loop episode, and the time loop episode of Lost Girl was one that I don't remember the name of, was one of my favorite ones, one of my favorite episodes. But this definitely had a different vibe than that one did.
The vibe of this episode was I love time loop episodes, period. Like, Here I Go Again, the time loop episode of Legends of Tomorrow, was quite possibly its best ever episode. Like, it was so fucking amazing. And then there was the simulation episode. Well, we didn't quite know it was whatever. The Person of Interest one, 6741, was amazing for like a different reason. And I think, I don't know, time loop episodes are great because it gives you the opportunity to gain so much insight on different characters and how different characters like view other characters without there being any actual consequences to the story. So you can kind of do like a character study on them. And I think that what they did with Doc and Wynonna, where they bypassed the like what's been a season-long like rift between the two of them because they're both too stubborn, like this time loop threw them into a situation where they had to confront their feelings for each other and like come to terms with it, and then like turn that like difference from a weakness that they've been struggling from all season into a strength in an attempt to fight Bolshar. It didn't quite work, but still.
Yeah, I don't have any. I think what made this different for me is not knowing what the reason for the loop was, what Bolshar's end game was. Like, it took us a while to figure out it was him trying to break her because he needed Peacemaker. So it was like, what is the point of this? Like, why is he doing this to them?
It was hard to watch. It was very hard to watch. There was, you know, the time loop episodes that I like that Lost Girl episode and the Legends one that you mentioned, and even when they did it in Buffy to a certain extent, there was kind of an underlying sense of whimsy throughout all of them. I think because we knew from the beginning there weren't any real stakes, and that was not the case with this. Like, this episode was heartbreaking. Like, Wynonna's so tired. And I mean, she's been so fucking tired this entire season with all of these choices, these decisions thrust upon her that she never got the ability to make the choice about. And then just to see him take her and Doc's like biggest fears and turn them against them and wear them down, like for her to actually give up Peacemaker, like, my God, can you imagine Can you imagine what emotional state she must have been in? Like, it was awful. It was very draining. It was a good episode. I don't mean that the episode was awful, but
That was my favorite part of the episode because I love things that are complete bummers.
this is why we are friends.
Well, no, but like the thing that I really like about time loop episodes is like the emotional like climax of the episode. So like here it's Wynonna reaching like her breaking point and just being like, you know what, fuck this, and like doing what she needs to do for her people and giving up Peacemaker despite the cataclysmic consequences of it. In like the person of interest simulation episode, it's Shaw being like, I'm not giving anything up for my people, like I'm just gonna like take myself out. Even in the Lost Girl one, it was Bo like trading herself in so that like all of her people could get away.
Yeah, I think so.
And then even in Legend of Tomorrow, Zari going ahead and like being ready to sacrifice everything for the people she didn't think were her people. I just love time loop episodes, you guys. But I don't like the Groundhog Day movie.
I've never seen it.
I've never seen it either.
Not a fan, but the premise, love it.
I've also never been to Groundhog Day, even though it's only a couple hours away from me. And one of my good friends from my first job was from Punxsutawney, but he's dead to me now.
You're saying a lot of words that I don't understand.
Punxsutawney? That's where
Punxsutawney
actual
Phil?
Groundhog Day is.
Is that an
Punxsutawney-
actual thing that happens?
Yeah. There's the groundhog goes, and if he sees his shadow, like it's a whole deal on February 2nd.
That isn't just some sort of weird wives' tale thing that people have just turned into an excellent TV trope?
No, it's a real thing.
No.
Do people
Okay.
actually believe that a groundhog walking out of a hole could like determine anything? Or is it just like a fun, like nonsensical thing?
I mean, people believed that, you know, a man with a really bad spray tan was going to put coal back in the ground, so I kind of feel like people around here will believe anything.
I think it's sort of like one of those old almanac-y things.
Yeah. You know, if he sees his shadow, there's 6 more weeks of winter, which doesn't make sense, because if it's sunny, then there's going to be more
Right.
winter. Like, logically, that never made sense to me.
So
I think it more made sense when you just let the groundhog do its thing. But instead, it's like a big, weird production now.
It
But I
is.
think back in the day, like, groundhogs just came up out of their hole
I-
and did their thing on their own, and a farmer was like, oh, he went back down.
The groundhog lives very well. Like,
Yeah,
He-
he's got a nice place. I've
Yeah.
seen it. Not in
I-
person, but I've seen it on TV.
I kind of feel bad for the groundhog.
the Pennsylvania lottery, the spokesperson is Gus, the second most famous groundhog in Pennsylvania. Not a lie.
I just it's been nice being on this podcast. I'm gonna need to go have a moment elsewhere wondering why I'm part of humanity. I'll be back. Just continue on without me. Really? Groundhog Day?
Yeah. Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania.
I don't remember like talking about it in elementary school. Like that's when it was a thing. You don't remember? Isn't that a thing?
I didn't realize there was an
Groundhog
actual
Day.
groundhog that was like held in captivity and forced to like walk outside once a year with a bunch of people caring about what it did.
I mean, I think at this point you're really kind of twisting what's happening. But I do want to say that his handlers are dressed in like top hats and tails.
Yeah, like
it's
old
very,
timey looking outfits.
yeah, it's very elaborate.
It was just a very big shock for me. I don't pay attention to most things, so when stuff that I thought was just like some sort of nonsensical like story actually becomes a thing that people do, it throws me for a loop a bit.
I think our age gap with Michelle is really showing, Heidi, because, you know, when she was in elementary school, they had real shit to talk about. But when we were in elementary school, it was like, oh,
Groundhog
what's
Day.
Doppler radar? Let's look at a motherfucking groundhog. Like, you know, that's
Yeah,
how we
but I
told
mean,
them about
like, I'm pretty sure if you went into a store right now and you picked up a calendar and you flipped to February 2nd, it's gonna say Groundhog Day on it.
I'm looking at the iPhone calendar because I did not enter Groundhog Day. That, you know, I know what it is. I don't need it in my. Yeah, it's in the iPhone calendar. Also, my aunt and uncle's anniversary.
Keep talking. I will be right back.
Okay. I don't know how to respond to that. Do you think she really needed a moment to deal with this Groundhog Day fallout?
I don't know. I'm always just like, did Michelle have a childhood?
I don't know if Michelle had a childhood.
What was she paying attention to? Because it was just always just a thing. I don't even know how I knew about it.
I think when she was born, she was a fully formed 73-year-old woman.
Did somebody say my name?
No.
No.
I just went and grabbed my wall calendar that I use, even though it's 2 years old, because I just like the pictures.
Jeez. What are the pictures? What are the pictures?
But what do you use it for? Just to use what?
It's a Clexa calendar.
Oh my god, you are such trash.
I just like the pictures, you guys. I don't actually care about what day it is. That's what my phone is for. It does not have Groundhog Day marked on it, so.
Because it's a Clexa calendar. You didn't buy that at the store.
I mean,
Yeah, where did you buy that?
the internet.
Right, that doesn't count.
You'd think anyway. This is beside the point. I know that the 30 seconds I was away, you guys were all shit talking me.
I guess you'll find out when you edit.
I was gonna say, luckily I have editing rights over this. But moral of the story is apparently I'm a bunch older and younger than both of you.
A bunch older, yes.
I mean, I just figured like in Iowa, almanacs and Groundhog Day and stuff like that would be a big deal.
What part of me living in Iowa makes you think that I care about anything that people in Iowa actually care about?
But it doesn't matter if you care about it or not. It's just that we thought that you would have learned about it.
Oh, no, I don't listen to people when they talk because everything they're saying is nonsense. Like, they were 2 years ago, they were like head over heels because the world's largest truck stop that's 20 minutes away from the Quad Cities was having its 100th year anniversary, and it was like a big fucking deal. And I went to Chicago because I couldn't deal with it. Yeah, digest that, everybody.
I'm putting up a Twitter poll.
A Twitter poll of what?
Who's freaking heard of Groundhog Day or not?
Yes.
Everybody's heard of it. I just didn't.
Did you know it was an actual real day and not just a TV trope?
I see reality, reject the stuff that doesn't make sense, and just go and read fan fiction instead. It's fine.
Well, back to Wynonna Earp. What do you think would have happened if they didn't go through the door?
I think
and they just waited
I
for
think
Waverly
that
to wake them up.
I think that Waverly would have actually been able to wake them up.
Oh, you think?
Yeah.
I think Bolshar would have found a way. I don't know. Like, he would have started them on the loop again.
I think that they can get snapped out of his control. Because Peacemaker, once again, was just like, hey, I don't like where the plot's taking you, Wynonna, so I'm just going to, shove you back in the right direction. And I feel like that means that, an external force could snap somebody out. They also snapped Bobo out of it.
Well, did they, or did he... Because you kind of saw him... Well, no.
Is it I guess, is the criteria of you getting out of Bolshar's hellscape, is that determinate upon whether you, give up and give in and let him, kick you out of it? Or that somebody snaps you out of it? Because I guess you could take Bobo's waking up either way, because he at that point had completely given up, and then they freed him and he woke up. But then the timing of Wynonna and Doc waking up seemed maybe a little too convenient.
But Waverly touched Wynonna with the ring. Do you think that's why she woke up?
I think that's some really good fucking storytelling on their part, because they timed it all so perfectly.
I'm scrolling through the video to see if Waverly touched Bobo with the ring.
But then
why didn't she had it in her? She had the mitt on.
Well, the thing was, even if that was the case, if it was between, but both Bobo and Wynonna got touched by the ring, and that's what woke them up. What woke Doc up?
Right.
They woke up at the same time, so it seems like either it was that Wynonna gave in to Bolshar's demands, and he was like, "Sweet, I got what I want. Peace out, bye," and let them free. Or it was something along the lines of where Waverly in the ring woke her up, and since their hypnosis was connected, it woke him up. Or it was something completely that makes no sense. Probably the last one.
I don't think we'll ever know. I mean, I don't know.
Well, I think it would depend if we find out, did Bobo give something up, and then he woke up, right? But he talks in circles, so it's really hard to know if you can take what he says literally, or...
The show could probably be solved if Bobo just gave them a straight answer one time.
Yeah, if Bobo was just like, "Hey guys, let me tell you how to break this curse. This is what you do. Also, Waverly's not an angel. I'm fucking with you. And here's how she's related to the Earps. Here's what Julian is. And don't trust Charlie. Have a great day, everybody."
Well, I expect a tip in the mail. Bye.
I love Willa. She was the true Earp heir.
It was interesting that he didn't realize, so Waverly has the ring on under that oven mitt the whole time. But once she puts her hand on him, then he knows she has the ring. So I'm curious, how he knew that.
Well, he's very attuned to everything, Waverly.
He's very attuned to everything in general, but especially with Waverly, I think.
Yeah, but I feel like it had to be because she touched him, but there's still the oven mitt between them because she was standing so close to him and it was on and he didn't realize it. And as soon as she puts her hand on him and pushes him back into the tree, and he kind of he cocks his head to the side and he looks up into the sky, and then he looks back at her and he's like, "You're wearing your father's ring."
I feel like he probably was able to identify the power behind it since he'd interacted with it prior. But not to throw us completely off topic. But I would just like to say, as I did when this happened on my TV, Danny fucking kind, everybody.
Yeah, that was pretty exciting. I was super stoked.
Exciting. He's hysterical.
As soon as they got the call in to the Gardner mansion, and they're like, "Oh, it must be Kate." I'm like, nope.
Who the fuck do you think called the cable guy?
Yeah. Because Kate left already.
Kate was like, "Oh, I'm gonna leave, but I better cancel this cable so it doesn't bleed into my sweet, sweet vampire money." Is Rosita staying there too? And she just super loves I don't even know what a show on cable. Honestly, I don't know any shows other than Wynonna Earp right now. And I don't think that Rosita would watch Supergirl because she'd be like, "Motherfucker, Lena Luthor knows that bitch is Supergirl."
Well, little known fact about the Gardner house. We've seen Kate and Wynonna and Doc and all them. This episode when Danny fucking kind was sitting there beating on a safe, and they walked in. Behind every single closed door, there was actually 10 demons that were hiding out. They were just kind of all holding their breath behind the door, I hope none of them hear us. And as soon as they all left, they're just like, "Whew, house party again, it's fine."
And they just turn on repeats of Criminal Minds.
And then put in another call to the cable company asking for them to repair the cable.
Right. Whatever. I know.
Talk about how
Yes.
Officer Hot doesn't want to shoot the patrol car door when Bunny is locked in it because it'll ricochet, but she just straight up shoots the bullet out of safe.
Right. You can't maybe go so you're 1 foot away. You can't be like, "It's okay, Mercedes, please step back 3.2 centimeters, and then I'm gonna hit this bitch from 10 feet away."
The likelihood of a bullet ricocheting off of a metal safe with a metal lock versus a door that a car door that's made out of metal specifically designed to give when impacted, not comparable. They were all way more at risk with the safe than they were with the car. I think she just wanted to leave Bunny locked in there.
Oh, for sure.
She's like, "Fuck this bitch. Oh, we might die with this safe situation. It's fine. At least Bunny's not around."
I think too with Bunny watching, she's more inclined to follow the rules. But it was just Mercedes. Who cares about that?
She lost her face and now she's gonna get shot with a. But okay.
My first thought when I saw that, I just thought of Barney Fife from the Andy Griffith Show with his one fucking bullet. I don't know why I thought of it, but that was it. Because she's just like, "Oh, don't tell anybody I used this bullet." And I just went to that show. Because I'm 80.
Right, I am too young to get that reference. I never watched that.
What the fuck was his name? Wait, you never watched the Andy... I might have gotten the character's name wrong. But you never watched the Andy...
I know who Barney Fife is. He only had one bullet? That's a really horrible way to be a cop.
You never watched that show?
Why would I watch that show?
Because it's a classic.
It's a sausage fest, Michelle.
Okay, I watched it when I was a kid.
I watched Murder, She Wrote when I was a kid. Not a sausage fest.
I don't...
Clam fest. Nope.
This podcast is over. This was the last episode. It's done. Sorry, guys. We can't continue.
Oh, I need a minute. Oh my god. It just came out of my mouth. I'm sorry.
Hey guys, Michelle here. For the sake of time and my sanity while editing, I decided to cut out the 2 minutes of us laughing. But just know that it happened. So, yeah. All right. Back to the podcast. I have no clue how I'm going to edit that. Oh, God.
Maybe, I don't know, man. Maybe you just take it all out, which is too bad.
We'll see how it comes across. In my defense, my grandma really liked the Andy Griffith Show, so she'd have it on all the time, and so I'd watch it with her.
Well, that makes sense. Mine watched Days of Our Lives.
Yeah, no.
I feel like if you watch the Andy Griffith Show, you should know what Groundhog Day is.
I agree. I agree with Heidi.
What?
I just said I agreed with you. Why did you want me?
I think she wanted.
I was not wanting you.
All right.
I mean, I don't remember a ton about the Andy Griffith Show because when I watched it, I wasn't super old.
Matlock was my preferred Andy Griffith vehicle.
I also watched a lot of Walker, Texas Ranger with my grandma.
That makes me think of my friend Lori, whose grandma also liked Walker, Texas Ranger. And she would tease her about liking Chuck Norris. Right? That was the Chuck Norris one?
Yeah, that was Chuck
And
Norris.
finally her grandmother had had enough and was like, I watch it for the karate.
I think I'm trying to now I'm thinking back on all the shows that I watched specifically with my grandma. There was Andy Griffith Show, Walker Texas Ranger, Touched by an Angel. I don't remember what that was about, but I remember I didn't care about it. And then Supermarket Sweep.
The host of Supermarket Sweep had a bit part on Days of Our Lives, a few episodes. He was Jennifer's station manager when she worked as a reporter. You're welcome, everyone.
I don't remember who the host was. I just remember as a kid really wanting to be able to just run through a supermarket and throwing expensive shit in my cart.
I think you just wanted to terrorize things.
I think that I really just wanted to destroy a supermarket.
This conversation is amazing, but I kind of feel like maybe we should circle back to the show just for 10 minutes, maybe. I don't know.
This episode might also be a day late because editing is going to be a fucking nightmare.
I say don't edit it at all. Just put it up as is.
I think it's going to make me sound like
a murder podcast. Talk about lots of other stuff around the topic that you're going to talk about.
I'll just pull out the stuff that makes me sound like a jackass, aka 95% of what we've recorded.
No, I disagree. Most of it makes me sound like a jackass. That jeweler guy was super creepy, especially when he said that about Waverly ovulating.
I liked him. I like the actor. I feel like he's been on something, and I keep meaning to look up who he was, and I forget.
He was on Last Girl. And
yes.
And a bajillion other Canadian shows. He's one of those guys in Canadian TV.
I really enjoyed in this episode where we had Wynonna losing her power, sacrificing it, getting beaten down, and just kind of giving up. And while she was dropping down, Waverly was ascending to a face-melting motherfucking badass with an ugly oven mitt.
I like that they chose a Niagara Falls oven mitt, too. Another, it could be Canada or the United States. That was really well done.
I'm like, that had to be Beth's because that was not Tucker's or Mercedes.
That was 100% Beth's. I also love Mercedes' just open hatred of Perv Tucker.
Yes. It is so great to have Mercedes back. So great. This show has such great characters.
I love that she spent the hiatus traveling the world trying to find people who could glue her face back on. That's been her character arc since the finale. She's just been traveling the world trying to find people who could stick her face back on her face.
Yeah, and all along it was Waverly or Magic Ring. It's pretty interesting too. Okay, so when she touched Bobo with it, I felt like he felt something, and when she put her hand on Mercedes' face, if you watch that scene a couple times, Mercedes like leans into it and like closes her eyes, almost like, I mean, maybe she's just starved for human contact.
I know. I
Or
wondered
like,
the same
did she
thing.
feel something too? Like, did she feel like, oh wow, like, because then it's like she kind of like shakes her head a little bit, like comes to her senses, like, what the hell am I doing? And like backs away. But
No, 10 for 10 agree on that. Mercedes definitely was affected by the ring, but she's so like traumatized by like having her face ripped off that she kind of like brushed it off until her face was her face again.
I wonder why it
Which-
took so long to work and it wasn't instant because oh geez, sorry, I just kicked my cat. Because for Demon Derek, the face melting was instantaneous.
I think it depends on intent. That was a malicious intent, so it was like defense.
Maybe.
Whereas with her it was one of like healing.
I do think the effects of the ring are definitely intention based. And is the ring somehow tied to Peacemaker too? Because
yeah, I think it is.
do you think the colors are intent of the shooter or intent of mental state of the recipient?
I think that the colors on Peacemaker, as well as the intent of the ring, I think it all is. I think it's all like a balance between the intent of the user versus the person being like attacked or like receiving of whatever it is that the gun or ring is like giving. And I think that's kind of like a cool aspect, at least for me, is that it's not black and white. There are situations where like Wynonna may mean well and the Revenant may not necessarily mean like horrible intent toward, in the overall scheme of things. And Peacemaker makes a call. Because like the world isn't black and white. And I think that Peacemaker and now the Ring are also showing kind of like the levels of gray, like how everything is kind of a level of gray. And it's making like the best possible decision given the circumstances. Because like Wynonna isn't all good and Bobo isn't all bad. Nobody is like one or the other. So I think it's interesting that the show, at least for me personally, is taking a stance with like the weapons that dispel good and evil. It's making it kind of muddied.
Yeah, I don't really know what to think because I feel like there's two cases that throw it off for me are Rosita, because like when they're at the bar and Wynonna puts Peacemaker on it to see if it glows, I'm pretty sure it glows orange. And then Rosita's like, all right, I'm a Revenant. But then when Waverly points Peacemaker at her, it glows blue. So that one throws me all off. And then she had just betrayed them. So that's one I can't figure out. And then Wynonna does feel remorse sort of when she has to kill the one with Levi. Is it Levi she has to? Which one? Or what's his name? Fish or Levi? Or whichever one she has to.
Both,
shoot,
but Levi.
Right? Yeah, like she seems to feel remorse, and he's not really that bad of a guy, and he doesn't seem like he was in real life either, but it doesn't glow blue for him. So that's what throws me off. But I don't know. I think they're definitely linked, and I think the next coming episodes are not going to be good for Waverly because I think he needs more than the gun. I think he needs both to get to the garden.
You think?
I have a feeling he's got the gun, and I feel like he's going to try to then get in the garden. He's not going to get in, and he's going to be like, oh, I need the ring too.
Well, I found it interesting too that Peacemaker had to be given up willingly, and I said this on Twitter. Like Wynonna had to give it to him willingly, and then I thought about in season 1 where the heir had to cross over the line with Bobo with Peacemaker willingly. Like, I think there's something there. I don't know what it is. It has something to do with free will, and the concept of free will ties a lot into the God mythology, if you believe that God created us and gave us free will. And I talked about this a little bit on the Twitter, and I got a lot of responses from people about how angels are the only beings without free will. And I don't know enough. I don't know if that's biblical based theology or like the show on the CW supernatural based theology. Like I'm not entirely sure. I learned a shit ton about Vatican II. I didn't really learn a lot about angels and demons. But I just think it's fascinating. I think the concept of intent and consent are tied to all of this mythology, and it's interesting, and I'm super stoked to see what happens because I'm a giant
me
nerd.
too. I feel like it's something we'll get answers on though too, because like if you look at Lost and like the stupid smoke monster, right? They never told us what the hell that thing was. But Emily, I feel like Emily would not always be commenting about and wanting to read theories about the colors and Peacemaker being sentient if she didn't already know the answer. Like, I feel like she wouldn't do, like, she just probably wouldn't say anything when people are asking about it, because she'd be like, oh shit, we don't know why it does that. Like, so I feel like there is an answer, and we're going to eventually get it,
I think you're
because
right.
she always retweets things about it, and like, what's, like, ooh, I don't know, what do you think it means? So I think it's like hugely important, whatever it is that it means. And I almost feel like once we know, we're gonna be like, oh, duh, that's so obvious.
Outside of like the specific mythology of the show, when you were talking about Peacemaker having to be freely given, given of its of like the owner's free will, it reminded me a lot of the spoiler alert, maybe it's been a while, the series finale of Carmilla, where the whole like having to be freely given of the whole important organs thing was kind of a major plot point. And I think outside of the mythology of any show, I think that it's a very interesting plot device to kind of reinforce the idea of like choice versus what am I trying to say? Versus coercion. Like being coerced into doing something versus choosing actively to do something are two vastly different things, which I think is something that gets kind of muddied up a lot in our culture right now. And every single time I see something like that in a story, I really enjoy it because it muddies up the waters on every level. That's just me thinking about stories and not thinking about Wynonna Earp at all.
I mean, it's okay. It's all part of a larger conversation. I mean, Wynonna really kind of shirks a lot of the tropes of TV, and it also kind of takes them and makes them its own, but it also is still a TV show. It has to follow some line of logic. We maybe can't trace the exact story, but it's still a drama TV show. You know what I mean? Like it's still gonna have, we meet the people get into a sticky pickle and then they get out of it, and then maybe something else bad happens, and then it repeats itself. So it's all part of a bigger conversation, I think.
I just like I don't know, for the past few years I've just been so like stuck on like the storytelling aspect of stuff that like I completely miss a lot of the mythology stuff, which is why we have Heidi.
Yeah, not this week, because I haven't even taken any notes. But yeah, about the mythology, some things I think I've been thinking about are that ring itself. Like, so it was on Balshar's hand for a long time. It didn't burn him, and then Mercedes got it next. Widow Mercedes. She's some kind of a something. I don't know what they were, but it didn't burn her. Like, it turned her into, I don't know, some video game looking character. And then it burned Doc. It burned Jolene. It burned when Constance came into the barn. But Nicole had it in her possession for a long time. It didn't burn her. It didn't burn Doc before he was a vampire. I don't know. I'm just very curious, like, why it didn't burn Bolshar, and is he really, like, who is he really? Because I feel like if he was a demon, the ring would burn him.
And Bolshar, well, that's getting into a whole thing, so I'm not even going to bring that up. But I agree. I don't, I don't think Bolshar is just some new guy we're meeting and we have no idea of his possible backstory. I floated several crazy theories about who he could be, and if he's looking for the Garden of Eden, at first I thought maybe he was Cain, who was responsible for killing his brother, who I thought maybe was, I don't know. I think I was all over the place. But then, like, I thought, with Peacemaker glowing white, and with the ring not burning him, and with that thing that Emily said about the bad guys not really being bad guys.
Well, and let me throw one more thing into there. And that all of these other bad people are more scared of him than anything else. Like he's like they're coming to pay fealty to him, right? So I would add that to the list of things about him. The ring didn't burn him, the gun, and why are all these other people coming to pay fealty to him? But okay. Sorry.
He's definitely not a one-note bad guy. You know, he is not a
No.
one-dimensional character. There's a lot more going on. Trying to figure out who he could be, like from a biblical standpoint, I've had the thoughts of maybe he's Cain, maybe he's Abel, maybe he's Adam, maybe he's Satan himself. You know, and those people, or maybe he's God and he's just real pissed at everybody. And you know, that's like a whole range of bad guy to good guy. He could be anybody. Or maybe he's just some Joe Schmo demon off the street. Probably not. You know, how does Bobo fit into all of this? Does Willa fit into this anywhere? Remember Willa's name at the commune was Eve. There are all these, we're looking out at a field and there are breadcrumbs everywhere and we have no idea which ones to follow.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was interesting. I don't know if this episode of Wynonna was just being Wynonna, but she also said something about him being around 1 million years. And I just think I think he's really old. Like, he's just not old, but like in terms of whatever he is, he's just been around a really, really, really long time. I think Cain's a solid theory. I don't think you have to have an Abel the more I think about it, because he murdered Abel, right? And then he got punished for it, the first murderer. And Bobo said he's about what he's always been about, and that's revenge. I mean, I could, you know, wasn't Cain, like, I don't think he was supposed to die, right? Like, wasn't he supposed to be doomed to, like, an eternity of wandering?
Yeah, I think so.
That's a hell of a long time, and you can be hell-bent on revenge because you're just pissed.
I think an argument could be made that he's Abel. You know, I think I had said that what if Wyatt and Bolshar were Cain and Abel? Now, granted, Wyatt didn't kill Bolshar, but he was directly or indirectly responsible for him being buried alive and entombed for how many years. That's, you know, even biblical translations in and of themselves are fuzzy at best, let's say. So let's say he's responsible for Abel going away and then he lived on. You know, Abel comes back to life. He is jacked. Like, he's pissed and he wants revenge on this person who killed him or tried to kill him. I'm not saying it's likely. I think the fact it makes more sense to me that it would be Cain. But again, I'm thinking about the Peacemaker glowing white, and I'm thinking about Emily and her nobody is what they seem. And, you know, good guys don't always look like good guys, and bad guys don't always look like bad guys. Like, Charlie seems like he's perfect, and I am 100% sure that there is something going on with him. Like, no, I don't trust him. I don't trust him as far as I can throw his Pride fire truck.
But that's a good point. Yeah, we haven't, I think I said this in a tweet earlier, like, we haven't seen what his Baltar's twist is yet.
Because he can't just be a demon who's, you know, monologuing and twirling an imaginary mustache. Like, there has to be more there. They don't write characters like that. Except for me.
You know, Bobo was Robert Zane, and you're like, all of a sudden you're like, holy shit, you have a whole different view of Bobo. Even Constance, like, oh, they killed her sons, and she was married to this demon, and you kind of felt some sympathy for her, like, sort of. Like, yeah, what's his twist gonna be?
Wouldn't it kind of be refreshing to just have a villain that was just like a mustache twirling, like, piece of shit that you could just hate without having any, like, moral or ethical dilemma, and just be like, yep, that person is garbage. Kill them now.
This isn't Supergirl, Michelle. They don't write one-dimensional characters.
Yes, I hate lazy storytelling, but every once in a while I'm like, man, it'd be nice if they just had, like, a villain who is just actually the worst.
I mean, some of the Revenants, I think, probably fall into that.
But they don't count as villains. They're just, like, little annoying, like, flies on your windshield that you just kind of got it rid of.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I agree. I like the twist.
I don't actually want there to be any, like, super boring one-dimensional villains, but sometimes it'd just be easier for them to just be like, yep, he's the worst, boom, dead, problem solved.
I have a feeling whatever it is, it's going to have something to do with Waverly's dad.
whoever that may be.
Or-
Don't believe it's Julian.
Waverly's-
Julian's an angel.
Yeah, or her parents, because Monica and I are team Michelle Earp is not her biological parent. I shouldn't discount that. She is still her mother.
Yes.
So that's not what I meant. Yeah. Because I have a feeling, I think I said this on one of the other podcasts, when we saw Daddy Lessons as a title, I thought it was probably going to be more war drama, but now I think Waverly's dad is showing back up, and we are not going to expect what happens at all. That's what I
agree.
think is going to happen.
We don't know what to expect. They fucking just blindside us every episode, and it's like I'm in an abusive relationship with a TV show. Like,
I mean,
they're
it's
gonna
gonna have to
destroy
be
me every week,
something-
and I keep coming back for more.
It's got to be something big, because if Bolshar started the curse and he's the big bad this season, and the curse can't end, right? Something else has got to happen, right?
If they ended
That's
the
the whole
curse,
premise of the show.
yeah, you can never end the curse, because if you ended the like ending the curse is like the foregone conclusion of the show, and the closer you get to it is just the closer to the show ending. So they can't end the curse. We have another season, you guys.
Yeah,
At
so I
least
just
one
think
more
whatever is about to happen is just gonna just be, yeah.
I
I don't
trust
know if I'm ready for it.
I trust the creators of the show to make it interesting. I think a downfall of a lot of shows, not this show, not talking about this show specifically, but the downfall of a lot of shows is that when you have like a foregone conclusion as the end of your story, it kind of makes it difficult sometimes to watch, because like you go like season to season, you're like, well, if they solve the fucking problem, the show is done and this is the end of it. But like every single time, like this show I think is gonna zig, they zag, and they like do whatever they gotta do, and they make it interesting always. So can they end the curse and somehow still have some sort of like plot left? I mean, probably. They're pretty good at it. Do I necessarily want them to actually solve the curse situation and get rid of Bolshar? I don't think so, because I think he's a really interesting, multi-layered villain who could bring a lot as far as like character development, because like he's all about mind games. And the best way for like us as the audience to learn about a character is by having some bag of dicks fuck with their mind.
Yeah, and speaking of bag of dicks, I want to know if the first day in the writer's room was like, this is the end of the season, we throw dicks in every episode. How are we going to do it? Because every episode has had
A lot of dicks.
some kind of dick reference. And I'm
It is a pretty
pretty
dick-heavy
amazing.
season, and normally that's something I would be opposed to, but like I'm here for
it's funny as hell. Yeah,
In
it's
this-
hysterical.
In this episode, Wynonna said Bolshart, right?
it.
Was it?
She
I
said
don't know.
something. Ball shaft. I thought she said ball shaft.
Ball shaft, I think. When
Here's the
oh,
thing.
I'm sorry. Well, the closed captioning had ball shaft.
Oh God.
Okay.
I think this season is getting to me too, because when I started doing my recaps, I was like, oh, I'm writing for the TV junkies. I have to be professional. I think there are like 3 F-bombs and a bunch of like in this week's recap. I just sort of let it all out, which
Okay.
I love. It's super great. I do want to talk very, very briefly about one of the scenes at the beginning of the episode. The fake out with where you thought maybe Way Hot was having sex and it turned out they were trying
Amazing scene.
to get the ring off.
And
Fucking
I don't-
love it.
think I didn't think they were actually having sex because it was
No.
so cheesy.
Yes. And I thought it was really cool because how many times that reminded me of something you'd see on Castle. Like how many
Sure.
times have you seen a straight couple? Like have you seen that joke with a straight couple?
A lot.
Yeah, so, it's taking that trope, you think they're doing it, but they're really doing something else, and kind of turning it on its ear, and, kind of recapturing it for the queer community. Not recapturing it, but rebranding it. I don't know. I liked it, and I thought it was really funny.
Like I was like 4 minutes late to the episode, so when I like first turned it on, like my TiVo was recording, so I just like watched it live and then rewound at the commercial break to watch the first part of it. So I missed that part kind of completely at the beginning. And when I went back and watched it, like I fucking loved it so much. It was so good. 1, it's always an entertaining trope. 2, you don't normally see it with a queer couple. and I thought that it was really, really fun. And then 3, at the end of it, they were basically just like making like sex eyes at each other, and like as soon as that rings off, we're gonna fuck. It'll be great. Bye. Like every single part of it. Like, yeah, I love it. I'm here for it.
Yeah, they weren't actually having sex, but it was still a very sexually charged scene because you could tell they wanted to.
No, I mean, it was probably the most sexual scene that we've had, like, in this episode. Like, yeah, there was Doc and Wynonna in, like, their dream world post-coital, but, like, it was all just it was just a simulation by a fucked up demon dude who apparently likes voyeurism. Like, that wasn't real.
For some reason, Doc shouting "Occupado" was one of my favorite things from the episode. Occupado! I was like, I don't even know why. I don't even know why. I just loved it. I don't know. It was a cheap joke, but I liked it.
It was a good line.
Yeah. I like that Nicole seems to, well, you know, before that, no, sorry, after that. I like that Nicole seems to, she's walking away, suddenly realize, like, wait a minute, something's not right. And I feel like that's happened to her in all of these scenes. The vampire, you know, glamour, she kind of was able to be like, wait, no, something's not right. The Jolene, you know, baked goods. Each time, like, there's been this weird thing going on, she's always, like, on some level known something wasn't right, which I think is interesting.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting, too, but when they find the steps to probably the Garden of Eden, she's like, oh, I'm going to go up them. What the fuck, Nicole?
All right.
So did Robin, though. I feel like they must have some kind of a pool. And maybe Waverly didn't feel it because she was wearing that damn ring.
So, I have 2 comments. One, I'm pretty sure I would just run up the stairs.
Yes, and Heidi and I would pull you back down. Next.
Like, I would, like, be like, for my people, and just, like, start running up them, and then you 2 would do, like, the vaudeville hook and be like, no, calm down.
I'm gonna throw my fucking axe at your knee, hit you with the back of it, because in this world, I'm an expert markswoman.
I was gonna say there's not a chance in hell you'd hit me, but okay.
Whatever. I'm sporty and nerdy.
You weren't that
That's not
creepy
me.
this episode, though.
I
What?
like that we all agree that I'd be the dumbass that would run up the stairs.
Oh, you would definitely be the dumbass that would run up the stairs. And you know, I have that vaudeville hook in my backpack. Because it's purgatory, Michelle. I have a lot of shit in my backpack.
I just
that was
assume that
pretty
people
perfect.
have that on their person at all times when they're around me. Like, you never know when you're gonna just, like, pull me out of a stupid situation 99.9% of the time.
I'm gonna have a collapsible one at Earpapalooza just in case. Heidi, I'm so sad you're not gonna be there.
I am not.
You're not sad you're not gonna be there? Well, fine.
Nope, fuck these people. I'm gonna be at home with my cats and we're gonna have a great time.
That's not what I meant. I was just agreeing with you that no, I'm not going to be there.
But okay, back to my other point. I had a second point.
Sorry.
Well, no, making fun of me for being the asshole that runs up the stairs is pretty on brand. My second point was that I really, 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 really loved the cinematography of the episode.
Oh my god, it was gorgeous.
Not like outside of the like the dreamscape they created where Doc was like a projection on like the walls around Wynonna. I liked the vignette they had over all of the scenes that were in like Bolshar's reality with Doc and Wynonna and Bobo. Like, it isn't super subtle, but it's there. So if you go back and watch, there's just like a slight filter over each scene that isn't in like official reality. And I thought that was really, really great because sometimes shows do a thing where they're having, you know, like an out of universe, you know, experience, and it's just so obvious because they overdo the like light tones and filtering over it. But this one they didn't. It was subtle, it was there, but like you could miss it, so you could confuse it at the beginning for it being reality. And then just like the projection of Doc from like under the floorboards onto various like parts of the scene, various very dynamic parts of the scene. It was like all of it was just, it was so good. It was so good. I haven't like seen an episode of TV that was directed that well with regards to cinematography in a while, and it was really, really refreshing, and I could watch it 1,000 times and not be tired of it.
Did you see that it was April Mullen, and did you see that she's directing an episode of Legends this season?
I did not.
So that'll probably be really
Um,
good.
Well, there's one more, the Bobo scene, which
Oh yeah.
goes back to the cinematography, I guess. That scene, I could watch that scene over and over again. When they're laying there.
It was
It's so
beautiful.
good.
And it was heartbreaking. The whole episode was heartbreaking and also uplifting in a way.
Well, no, I was just going to make one quick comment about Monica, how you tweeted about the barn being consecrated ground. And one thing I noticed about the barn is there's this window in the barn that has like a cross cut out of it.
Hmm.
And it looked, it was gorgeous in this episode when they're in the Bolshar's illusion or delusion or whatever, and the like light from outside was coming in it. If you like go through, it looks the best I think when she wakes up one of those final times, and it's just like glowing orange, and it just stands out because it's clearly a cross, and it's in the barn. And I have questions about it.
I love the dreamscape they created, for so many reasons. Outside of like the storytelling choices, it was so cool to see kind of like the like dream like state of the barn. Them also still continuing to pretend that the barn isn't full of holes, and so like just like having sex on the floor with like one blanket is totally going to keep you from hypothermia when it's like freezing outside.
And you're fucking a vampire. I've heard that they have very cold skin.
Yeah,
and
like
that it sparkles.
like that dreamscape, you guys. It's so great.
I kind of wondered if he was actually a vampire in the dreamscape, because he made a comment like he didn't even feel the bloodlust anymore. And
Bolshar spent the first portion of his experiment until Wynonna defeated it, playing off of like what her deepest desires were in a way. Like she wanted to make up with Doc. She wanted the vampirism to not be a giant void between them. And he played off of that. He also played off of the very classic trope of just killing someone over and over and over and over and over again in more creative ways. Like he turned the floor into lava, you guys.
I am just sad that Wynonna didn't shout the floor is lava.
I was actually a little disappointed that they didn't do that, because like this was like a no holds bar, like just like go all out trope fest.
I really liked that she was like, "Why is my ass hot?" or whatever, and he's like, "Well, if you're looking for," I was like, "Fuck yeah, Doc, get it!" Like
It was such a good moment. I also like that once like her and Doc got acclimated to that dreamscape, and they're like, okay, like I understand what's going on. Like you're getting buried alive, and I keep getting killed in more and more like ridiculous ways. That Bolshar is just like, nope, let's mix it up. Let's mix it up. Instead of walking one nit to pick out of the basement of Shorty's to the top floor of Shorty's down to the first floor of Shorty's.
right.
They went from basement to homestead. So I appreciated like the fact that they're like, all right, let's get our characters used to the game, and like, you know, accepting like, okay, this is the game, we're gonna beat it, and it gives you as a viewer hope, like, oh yeah, they understand the game and they know what to do. And then Bolshar just flips the table, and the moment where they both think that they killed Bolshar and like solved the problem and like did all the things might actually be the most heartbreaking moment of the show. Because you're watching it, and I don't think anybody believed that they had actually done it, because it's, you know, season or episode 8 or 9 of a 12 or 13 episode season. So, and if you did believe that, aw, how naive of you. But like, you know, it's not the actual solution. So like watching them do that, you're just sitting there like, oh, sweetie, no, that's not what's happening.
That's the part when she woke up again after that. That's the part that gave me the Dark Tower feels, like the overall situation, not the waking up each time, but like, oh shit, you thought you made it to the top of the tower, and really starting back over.
Oh yeah, Melanie Scrofano waking up and being just emotionally devastated. She did such a good job.
It wasn't even like, oh, I woke back up. It was like she woke back up at the beginning, and then Doc had the exact same line. But it wasn't the same line. I actually went back and rewatched it. It was the same line from the second time she woke up. Because the first time she woke up, he wasn't being projected yet.
Right.
And then she went upstairs, and then went downstairs, and then got shot with the arrow. And then when she woke up, he was there, and they had some back and forth. That was like the fourth line he said to her about the paralyzed. But the first thing he said when she woke up.
My biggest question about the alternate universe that they're trapped in is are Doc and Wynonna in the same universe, or are they both in completely separate simulations that are touching upon each other every once in a while? Is it linear time in those simulations? So her going through her entire thing and restarting at the beginning and then jumping in and Doc being like, I don't know what's happening. In the timeline we first saw, was that actually the linear timeline? And Doc was just she literally didn't remember, or was it that it was she ran through her timeline, got reset, ran through her timeline again, but the timeline hit different points in Doc's timeline. And so she thought it was 2 experiences, but it was 7 because he was being touched upon by every single one of the infinite timelines. Does that make any sense at all?
Yes, but I think that they were in the same timelines and she just forgot. That's what I think. I understand what you're saying, and you could definitely be right, but that's not how I interpreted it. And I also think that they were in the same timeline from the very beginning. They were always quote unquote together. I don't know if she could have ever gotten to where Doc was underneath in the homestead crawl space from where she was in Shorty's, but I think they were always in the same world, for lack of a better term.
I really, really, really wish that I was right, because I think that it would make for such more, it provides so much more ammo for future storytelling, just because each of them hasn't necessarily lived the same reality, but they each reached an emotional crux based off of their experiences. So Wynonna may be over here at point A and Doc may be down at negative point C. They could be in completely different places because they experience completely different realities. And that's just me really liking fucked up character development shit.
I mean, it's certainly possible. I just, that's just my opinion. My opinions, no matter how good they are not fact.
What?
I know this is news to you. I mean, I realize we only talked for the show probably about 7 minutes out of the 143 that we've recorded for, but is there anything else that either of you want to touch on for this week?
No, please let's stop talking, because I'm not going to be able to edit this as it is.
Okay, I won't say anything about how last season really gave us, that AU episode.
No, just keep talking.
Sort of told us that Waverly and Nicole were soulmates, and then I feel like we kind of got that with Doc and Wynonna. I'm not saying that they're soulmates, but I don't know, they just always find their way back to each other, and they always forgive each other for whatever fucked up shit they do. And that's something. There's something there. That's all I have to say.
There's definitely something there. I continue to speak as I wish that we would all stop. No, I think you're right. I think that the show has a very interesting take on the concept of soulmates. They very punched us all in the face with the way hot soulmate thing. But the Doc and Wynonna relationship is very, very interesting. And since Dolls had to depart from the show for reasons outside of storytelling ones, don't hurt me, it kind of just amplified that relationship, and they've really been able to play with it and kind of throw them into their quote-unquote destiny. Don't know if it's that, but that's the best word I got for it. Time and again this season. They've been fighting it, each for separate reasons, and the story keeps shoving them back together, telling them that they're both being dipshits.
It's a toxic relationship, don't get me wrong, but it's, I don't know, they're tied to each other, not just by Atlas, but I think they're tied to each other in some way. And sometimes you can't get out of a toxic relationship. It's a parent, or it's a business partner, or it's somebody who you care about regardless of the toxicity of the relationship. I think that's very real. Obviously these are different circumstances that we see. I've never dealt with a supernatural, gun-toting immortal baby daddy Doc Holliday in my life. I've had my share. I know you're all shocked. I've had my share of toxic relationships, though, that for various reasons, it wasn't. You can't just automatically quit everyone who's problematic.
No, yeah, no, that's a lot of why I'm relating to this season, I think. Which is surprising, at least for me, because you don't normally see something where you can relate to a relationship that isn't necessarily healthy, but it's not in like the person who's making, or like the unhealthiness of it isn't just like acid bomb in your face bad. Like it's unhealthy, but it's not like it's going to murder you unhealthy, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Maybe it doesn't.
Yeah.
No, it does. Well, if you made it this far, again, you get a goddamn medal.
Yeah. I would just like to say my sister is caught up. She just caught up today. And my sister, she does not watch TV. And she actually sent me a text that was like, I am not the sort to get involved in TV shows, so why in the heck does this show have me captivated? And it made me so happy because she loves it. She then said it's intense like college football. Actually, she said, my goodness, it is intense like college football. Because oddly, she is not a sports person either. Like, my sister is like a hippie who lives in Ypsilanti, and I don't even really know how to describe her, but she just loves college football, too, which is very odd. Yeah, and she said she's on the edge of the seat wondering if it's all going to make sense or is it going to end up being gibberish. So, anyways, those tweets were delightful.
Love it.
And she loves the show, and I'm trying to get her to go to there's a finale watch party 29 minutes from her house.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, you have to go.
Do we know anyone who's going to be there?
No, it's the one in Livonia, Michigan. And that's actually where her boyfriend, Nick, they've both been watching it. That's where he works in that city. But I don't know any of those people now.
I think the cool thing about Wynonna is, like, and not everybody gets it, and it's not everybody's jam, but, like, when you do get it, it just, I don't know, it means a lot, and it's something that we have in common, like, that we can talk about. It's super cool. Chris, my wife, is on, she's training right now for some tours in New England, and she was at a bar, and some queer lady was chatting her up, and I was like, oh, she was in Boston. I was like, oh, maybe I know her. She's like, she doesn't watch Wynonna Earp, but I talked to her and I told her that she should, and that she should definitely check it out. And there's a big New England Earper community, especially in Boston. And I was just like, I married you. Like, that's the smartest thing I've ever done in my entire life.
Anyways.
Thanks for listening, everyone. If you want to find us on Twitter, you can find us at EarpsPlanePod. If you go to our website, earpsplanepod.com, you can find all of our contact information. You can email us. You can find us on the Twitter. That's where all of our episodes are. There's a link to our Patreon there, and there's a link to our merch shop there. Just everything. There's something in the air related you can find there. If you want to find me, Monica, I am at Lesbianzer.
I, Michelle, am at McNick1291, and guest of the pod, Heidi.
HeidiZizzle20.
If you are looking for us, you can find us basically on all of the podcast platforms, including YouTube, which, again, Michelle spent a very long time uploading to. So very grateful to Michelle for doing that. You can subscribe to us on iTunes or Google Play. If you want to leave us feedback or a rating, you can do that on iTunes. And we would appreciate that if you could do that for us, and you can counteract those 2 1-star reviews that a couple of fucking dicks left for us, I can only assume. Must have been Bolshar.
Just blame it on Bolshar.
Bolshar.
It's the excuse for every bad thing that happens in anybody's lives. Fucking Bolshar. I don't know.
Bag of walking dicks just created 2 logins and gave us 2 1-star reviews. That motherfucker. Did I get it all? Is that everything?
Yeah, no. So this was a podcast episode.
And remember, it may be a shit show, but it's our shit show.